Hello, I'm Jenny with The Forest Daisy. I create crafts and home decor. This video features some flower-themed projects that I made. If you also enjoy home decor and DIYs, please like the video and subscribe to my channel for more. For this craft, I got this blank wooden flower cutout at Dollar Tree. I painted one side of the flower with a shade of pink paint. Then I used my heat gun to dry the paint faster. I only painted one side because I covered up the other side with something else, but I did paint around the edges of the flower as well. I had this floral print wrapping paper that was also from Dollar Tree. I've had this for years now, so I don't know if this exact print will be available, but they usually have a variety of floral paper. I placed the flower down on the back side of the wrapping paper and traced it around with a pencil, then cut out the shape with scissors. I applied Mod Podge over the unpainted side of the flower and then pressed the wrapping paper on top and used my hands and fingers to smooth it out at first. And then I put a piece of parchment paper on top of the wrapping paper and used my Cricut Easy Press Mini to smooth out any remaining bubbles or wrinkles in the paper. And then I took a piece of sandpaper and lightly sanded around the edges so I could remove the excess paper that was sticking off. And I was careful with that because I didn't want to also peel off the paint. But when that was done, for the hanger, I just used a piece of a wood bead garland from Dollar Tree. I also don't know if they still carry these, but it is simple to just string some beads on twine or jute string as well. Once I figured out how many beads I wanted for the hanger, I cut the string and tied a few knots in the end, then glued it to the back of the flower. And you could add words, flowers, ribbon, or other accents on the sign, but I chose to keep this one simple. Next, I took some yellow ribbon that I had left in my craft stash. At first, I cut 6 pieces of ribbon at 6 inches, but then I later ended up trimming them all down, so one set of 3 ended up being around 5.5 inches, and the second set around 4.5 inches. After I cut the strips of ribbon, I folded the ends of each one into quarters and cut a dovetail shape in the end. I took the 3 pieces of the longer ribbon and bunched up the ribbon in the middle, then pulled the ends back to start creating flower petals. I added some hot glue into the center of each ribbon so that they would keep their shape and stay together. Then I added more hot glue along the side of one piece, then pressed it together with the next piece of ribbon. And I did that until all 3 were connected. And I repeated that same process for the shorter strips of ribbon as well, then glued the smaller set on top, but put it at a different angle so the petals weren't all lined up the same way. I had this piece of wood decor in my craft room that I chose to use for this. I put hot glue on the bottom of the flower and pressed that on top of the wood circle. Then I took some floral foam balls that I have had, removed one from the package, and cut it in half with a box cutter, and I painted it with brown paint. And I went in later and added a little bit of tan paint to add an accent color, and I glued that in the center of the flower, then made leaves for the flower by cutting 3 strips of this green ribbon that came from Dollar Tree. I folded the ribbon over so that it created a pointed shape at the top and used hot glue to attach the ends together. I glued those in between the open spots between petals and spaced them evenly around the flower. There was already a hanger attached to the back of the sign, so this can be displayed on the wall or used as a shelf sitter. I got this 10-pack of 5x5 wood panel boards from Amazon, which I will link below. I accidentally deleted my footage, but I stained one of the signs with dark walnut stain from Minwax. I had some pattern paper in my supplies, and I picked this one that was dark green with small polka dots. cut that down to fit inside of the sign, and coated the inside with Mod Podge, placed the paper on top, then found an image on Cricut Design Space that has wildflowers and says "Live Simply, Bloom Wildly," which I cut out in vinyl and put on top of the paper, but made sure to be as careful as possible so that it wouldn't rip the paper when I was peeling off the transfer tape, because I did try this with another sign and it peeled off the paper on that one. So I think it just depends on what type of paper it is. Then I put a piece of parchment paper inside and used my Easy Press Mini again to help activate the Mod Podge and get the paper to stay glued down. I took two different pieces of wood and I painted one of them a shade of green, then cut out an image of wildflowers with my Cricut and I transferred that vinyl to the sign. The paint had a gloss finish, so that seemed to make it a bit more difficult to get the vinyl to stick, but I like the look of the white vinyl on the green. For the second piece of wood, I painted that one white and I added two coats of paint. Then I cut out the words grow and bloom in a light sage green color that would sort of match the other sign. I transferred the vinyl onto the sign but put it off to the side because I glued some twine to the back and wrapped it around a few times. And this is where I watched the twine roll off of the table. Then I took some fake flowers and more jute string, which I wrapped around the stem a few times, and I tied a bow, trimmed down the ends of the twine, and glued that onto the sign. This one is a Dollar Tree gift idea. I placed a pair of garden gloves down on the table and rolled them up a couple of times from the wrist. Then I folded the gloves in half so that it would look similar to a plant or succulent, then placed them into one of the flower pots. Dollar Tree seeds are 3 for $1.50, so I put 3 different flower packets behind the gloves. This probably would have been easier before adding everything in, but I used some of the twine to wrap around the pot and tied a bow. There are different ways you can customize these, or Dollar Tree has different sizes of flower pots that can be used for larger gift baskets as well. Thank you for watching.